right, so what is the state of the heavyweight division if there gets a delay put on Stipe versus Cormier? Cormier has told us a couple of times, this might retire me. Cormier is not looking for someone to go, oh no, Daniel, please don't do it, hang in there. He's just being honest. He's just being super honest of, look, I don't need a whole lot of things, but one thing I do need is a date. So you have to be armed with that. Now, I don't think we're going to get held up. I think that Stipe and Cormier are going to go out there and take care of business. That's my own prediction, but it's a relevant talking point. You have to take a man at his word, especially an honest man like Daniel. You have to take him at his word. So if his word says, I may not do this if this gets to, you got to plan, okay, what am I going to do next? Okay, from a promotion standpoint, what am I going to do next? So that's the DC story. Now, when you bring up Stipe, there's a couple of things going on here. Not only is he the champion of the world, his next fight's for the world championship. The question is, who's it going to be against? Now, I understand that we believe it's going to be DC, but let's move on. Let's just have a fun conversation. Stipe's got three things going on. Aside from his next fight's going to be for a world championship, of which isn't signed, so his focus and how much he's locked in and who exactly he's preparing for and when, he doesn't have those answers any more than we do. He's also a fireman. Now, this is what's in his heart. He cares about his community. He does that not just to put out fires. He does that to save people. He does that to help somebody else. This is very real. He's very sincere in his belief. So when you're in the world of a pandemic, a guy like Stipe goes into action. He doesn't go into the gym. He doesn't go skip rope. He doesn't go for a run for himself. He goes and puts his gear on and sees who he can help save. So this is a very real thing. It's a very real talking point. You have to understand that in conjunction with the fact that he's dealing with an eye injury. And we don't have the latest update on that. Now, that isn't going to affect what's next for Stipe. What's next for Stipe remains the same, a world title fight. His world title fight. But it could push this out, which if it pushes out and were to take Daniel, who's an honest man, at his word, could jeopardize this duo. So if you look at what's next, okay, you're going to have Lewis. And yes, I understand that I misspelled it, but you're going to have Derek in there. Okay, Derek matters in many different ways. And Derek versus Stipe, because it hasn't been done, and because you all love to watch Derek, oh, and by the way, he's on a win streak, he can't be denied. You got to look at Ngannou, who seems to have the mandate of the masses. I largely sit on third base wearing a catcher's mitt on this one. I did not think Ngannou versus Stipe Part 1 was close enough or competitive enough to possibly warrant a rematch that could captivate our imaginations. I'm alone. So most people believe Ngannou should go into Stipe, including Ngannou, who's done some damn heavy lifting in between that match with Stipe. Cain Velasquez comes to mind. I mean, he's done some heavy lifting that other guys don't want to go out there and do, and he's getting ready to go in to the Rosenstrike fight. There's something to be said for new blood. There's something to be said for parity. There's something to be said that we just can't deny within this sport about who's next. We love to figure out who the champion is, but then our next guess is how do we get the champion beat and who's going to be the guy to do it? So when you have a guy like Rosenstrike who's got to win over Overeem, and that matters, and Rosenstrike's going to match up with Ngannou, who people right now believe in, and they believe in him because they love to watch him. They love to watch him because he's a knockout artist. Look, if he's going to lose this fight, it's likely going to be by knockout if Ngannou's going to lose. If. So if he gets knocked out by Rosenstrike's in the conversation. Then you've got the other side of the coin, which you're only going to be able to ignore Olenek for so long. I think you can't ignore him right now. But he's getting matched up with Verdum. Why Verdum did not get an immediate rematch with Stipe when he lost the first time was a surprise for me. Verdum was on a roll. Verdum got caught. Verdum got put down. Generally, you rematch matches like that. So now when you have Verdum coming back, and he supports the theory that I just laid out of new blood, I realize he's a former champion in old guard, but the mere fact that he's been out for a little while hasn't been on people's mind. He gets a fresh coat of paint. The other side of it is that he can take out Olenek. That's going to mean something because nobody else has been able to. And if Olenek gets over on Verdum, that's going to give him a much bigger boost. And Olenek has a big fan base because he's such a surprise. He's a former middleweight. He did a Rumble Johnson, skipped right over light heavyweight, moves up to the heavyweight division, goes up and all of a sudden is a player. People love this. Plus, he kind of looks like the everyman. He looks like most people look. He acts like most people act. He's a lucky, good-hearted guy. People like that. If you can get some name recognition over the former champ, it's going to matter. And then I think you also have to look at Blaydes. And Blaydes may be the outsider of all of these guys right now for whatever reason, of which is becoming a little bit hard for me to accept. Blaydes is young, which checks a box. Blaydes is a handsome guy, which checks a box. Blaydes is outspoken, which checks a box. Blaydes has been kicking some ass lately, which checks a box. But for some reason, it seems like Blaydes is just kind of up against it. Like there's a little bit of this fun thing in holding Blaydes back. And I don't mean from the promotion. I'm talking about purely from the fans. There just seems something there to not give him what he wants and possibly what he deserves, almost like our evil side. And that doesn't only apply to him. That's a very real thing in this sport. Many fans will come in and their evil side will take over of trying to hold someone back. I feel like Blaydes is in that spot. But he's only going to stay there for so long. Eventually, his wins and losses, particularly his finishes, are going to speak for themselves. I think that the heavyweight division is going to be very interesting, but we have to play out a couple of fights. And Gunnar Rosenstrike simply has to happen. Verdum coming back has to happen. To act as though Verdum doesn't matter is silly. And then I think that ultimately we're just going to have to get the date. The way that they're stacking up UFC 249, the way that we have 3 fights that have been promised main events on different cards that are all now combined, 2 co-main events on 2 different cards, 1 a former world title fight main event from years past. I'm talking about Rose and Andrade. All coming together for one card. Who knows what's going to happen? We may have some crazy card where John Jones is defending a world title. Anderson Silva's making his comeback. And oh, by the way, DC and Stipe are going to close out the night. I mean, this may be what's happening. Maybe all the cards are just going to be loaded from now on. What I'm suggesting for you, though, is before we make any plays on the heavyweight division, we do need to see a couple of matches.